Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back to Storytime with Ms. Leslie. This time, I'm going to read this book. It's called When I Grow Up by Peter Horn, illustrated by Christina Cadman. Now, you're going to notice when you see me reading this book to you that there are post-it notes on it with notes. A lot of times what we teachers do is we want to make sure we don't forget to say something important to you, boys and girls, so we put post-it notes in our books. I didn't bother to take them off before I read them to you. I want you to see them because this is something, when you become strong readers, you will be doing. Next year in first grade, you're going to have post-it notes, and you're going to be making notes and putting them inside your book so that when you sit to get down with your teacher and talk about what you read, you won't forget. So let's go ahead and read this book. Before we read, once again, we're going to do another first grade strategy, which is take a sneak peek. So let's start with our sneak peek. The first thing I do with a sneak peek is I read the title, When I Grow Up. I look at the cover. In this case, I see a turtle and then a little turtle. So it looks kind of to me like a mommy or a daddy turtle and a baby turtle. And then again, I'm just going to look at some of the pages in the book. I might read a couple of words, but really what I'm doing is looking at the illustrations, seeing what's there, trying to get an idea of what this book might be about. I see birds and baby turtles playing. I see baby turtles eating and playing. Oh, I see a baby turtle snuggling up for sleep. Let's skip a few pages. Oh, this turtle looks adventurous, flying with a bird. You know, when I look at this picture, right away I know that this is a fiction book. It's make-believe. This didn't really happen. Look at this. Look at them playing. And you've probably seen my post-it notes in here because you know I'm going to be asking you those questions or telling you something about the book. So when I looked at the book, I saw little turtles playing and I saw them with their grown-up. And I look at the title and it says, When I Grow Up. So what I would like for you to do right now before I start reading is I just want you to sit and think about this question. What do you think the story will be about? Now, if there's nobody in the room with you, just sit there and think about it for a second. If you're watching this with somebody else, turn to your partner. This is what we call pair share. We've done this in kindergarten, and you will do it a lot next year in first grade. Turn to somebody next to you and take turns sharing what you think this book will be about. You can pause for a second to do that. Okay, let's get reading. While you're reading, keep in mind what you think this book is about. Your prediction is just that, a prediction. It doesn't have to be right. A beautiful summer day was drawing to its end. Sebastian had played with his friends all day long, and they had run races with Theo the snail. Spun on their shells until they were dizzy and splashed around in a cool green pool. Does look like fun. When they were hungry, they crawled into a strawberry patch and munched the sweet red fruit until their faces were thoroughly smeared with juice. Then it was time to go home, so they said goodbye and went their separate ways. Sebastian snuggled down beside his father on soft grass that was still warm from the afternoon sun. Stars twinkled in the sky above them, but Sebastian didn't feel tired enough to go to sleep just yet. Do you know what I want to be when I grow up? He said. His father looked surprised. Have you decided already? I wonder what he wants to be. Think about it for a second. Make another prediction. Now let's see. Yes, said Sebastian, I want to be a fireman. I would wear a bright red uniform and a shiny silver helmet, and if you had a fire, I would come and put it out for you. Well, it's good to know that you'd save us, said his father. That's not the only job I could do, said Sebastian. He was getting excited now, and his words came tumbling out. I could be a pirate. Oh dear, said his father. Pirates are horrible terrors of the sea. Don't worry, said Sebastian, nuzzling his father's nose. Nuzzled, that means gently rubbing with the nose. Well, at least in this case. Don't worry, said Sebastian, nuzzling his father's nose. I would be a nice pirate, not a horrible one. I wouldn't sink any ships. What would you do? I'd sail away to desert islands, said Sebastian, and if I found any treasure, I would give it away to the poor. That would be kind of you. What have you learned about Sebastian so far? Once again, pause for a second and talk to the person with you and pair share. Tell them what you've learned about Sebastian. If you're by yourself, you can just pause and think to yourself, and if you want, say it out loud. You always hear me in the classroom talking out loud. That's okay. It helps you to hear your thoughts. I know that I've learned that Sebastian is curious and that he's anxious to grow up and he's wondering what he's going to be and what he's going to do. And I also know that Sebastian is kind. He wants to be a pirate, but he doesn't want to be a nasty pirate. He wants to be nice. And he's giving because he would give everything away to the poor. Or I could be a deep sea diver. How about that? I would dive right down to the bottom of the sea and have races with the fish. They must run faster than Theo the snail. Well, I'm sure they do, said his father. Look at he's wearing snorkeling gear. Father and son gazed up at the moon, which glowed softly like a paper lantern in the sky. Sebastian felt as if the Sandman was sending him to sleep, but he tried not to yawn. Sandman. That's a make-believe character who helps children fall asleep by sprinkling sand in their eyes. Sebastian felt as if the Sandman was sending him to sleep, but he tried not to yawn. Another idea had just occurred to him, and it was so good that he had to tell his father. I could be a skydiver, Sebastian said. I'd ask a bird to carry me up into the sky, and I'd jump off his back and float down with a parachute, and then I would tell you what the world looks like from up there. I'd like that, said his father, and I think you are very brave. Well, I think if you go skydiving, you have to be brave. That sounds really scary to me. Now Sebastian was very, very tired, and he struggled to keep his eyes open as he asked his father, what did you want to be when you were little? Let me think, said father, and he looked fondly at Sebastian. I always wanted to be a father, he said. I hoped to have a son who would make me proud, whatever he did, as proud as I am of you. Father Turtle gently stroked his son's back. Sebastian gave a happy sigh and tucked his head snugly inside his shell, ready for sleep. And I'd like to grow up to be just like you, he murmured drowsily. Murmured drowsily. That's something that's said in a soft, sleepy voice. And I'd like to grow up just like you, he murmured drowsily. As the warm night wind carried Sebastian's words away across the meadow, he was already fast asleep. So, what does Sebastian want to be when he grows up? Was your prediction at the very beginning correct about what this book was about? Were your predictions throughout the book correct? Remember, whether they're correct or not doesn't matter. That what's important is you are thinking about what you're reading. Now, here's one last question for you. What do you want to be when you grow up? Are you going to be like Sebastian and have 3 or 4 things? Is there just one thing? This is a question I know your teachers have asked you throughout the year, and I know your answers are going to change. They always do. Mine's changed lots of times over the years. So, right now, you can turn the book off, talk to whoever you're with, and talk about what you'd like to be when you grow up. Maybe you've got time to go play and pretend you're doing that. Do you want to be a fireman like Sebastian? Or maybe a teacher like me? Or maybe you've got something else you'd really like to do. Have fun. Bye.